Welcome to 15 After 5, your after-work brain snack. In each episode, we explore 3 simple ways to feel smarter, lighter, and more in control. A mind shift, insights from books, psychology, and personal growth. A machine check, fresh trends in AI tech, and tools that work for you. A movement mode, practical wellness tips you can actually stick to. I'm Ying, producer of this show, and this is your daily dose of playful progress. Let's dive in.
You know that feeling, right? When you're really itching to understand something new or make progress on a big project, but it feels like there's just this invisible wall there.
Totally. Your mind just wanders off. You suddenly find a million other urgent things to do.
Exactly. That sort of internal struggle, that reluctance to actually dive into the work that, really matters. It's something everyone faces.
Absolutely. And it's actually the perfect place for us to kick off our exploration today.
Yeah, so we're starting with this idea of resistance, from Steven Pressfield's book, The War of Art, which is brilliant. Think of it as that little voice whispering, maybe check Twitter just one more time, instead of doing the actual work.
Right, that little voice.
And then from there, we're going to jump into something pretty different. The future of SaaS, software as a service. We're looking at how AI is really set to change everything there.
A big shift. And then, believe it or not, we'll wrap things up by looking at some, genuinely surprising stuff about chimpanzees over in Uganda.
Okay. It might sound like we're jumping around a bit.
Maybe a little. But the idea, like always, is to, connect some dots you might not expect.
Well,
give you those key insights, those aha moments, without drowning you in, too much detail.
think of it as a shortcut, maybe. A focused way to get the core ideas across these different areas.
Exactly. A deep dive without the overwhelm.
Okay, so let's really dig into this resistance thing. Pressfield paints it as this really a potent force, almost like an enemy inside you, actively trying to stop you doing anything meaningful or creative. It's more than just feeling a bit lazy, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Much more subtle. And sneakier, too. Resistance is like a master of disguise. It often shows up dressed as perfectly logical reasons not to do something.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, I just need to do a bit more research first. Or actually, this other thing needs doing right now. Or even just, let me quickly clear my inbox before I start.
Ah, yes, the inbox trap.
Classic tactics. They're all fear, really fear of failing, fear of being judged, sometimes even fear of succeeding, but they're cleverly disguised as being practical or responsible.
Yeah, and it's so easy to recognize when you think about it. That endless email, checking when a deadline's breathing down your neck, or, suddenly needing to reorganize your entire desk before you can possibly write a single word.
Definitely.
As someone who, records these conversations, I definitely have days where just hitting record feels like pushing a boulder uphill.
Yeah.
My brain comes up with all sorts of amazing excuses. The lighting's not right. I didn't sleep well. Maybe I should just outline it one more time.
That's resistance winning that round. And Pressfield's answer, his solution, is actually pretty straightforward, but powerful.
Right.
He says you have to go pro.
Go pro. What does that mean exactly? Like quitting your day job?
Hey, not necessarily. It's more about a mindset shift. Moving from being an amateur, someone who waits for inspiration to strike, or for the perfect conditions, to being a professional. And a professional just shows up. They commit to doing the work consistently, whether they feel like it or not. Moods, inspiration, they're irrelevant. The consistency is everything.
Right. Consistency over inspiration. I like that. And there are a couple of quotes from the book that really jumped out at me. The first one was, doing less is a huge part of doing much more. Seems kind of backward at first.
It does sound paradoxical, yeah. But what it points to is the power of focus. Resistance loves it when we scatter our energy, doing lots of little, shallow things to avoid the hard, deep work.
Busy work.
Exactly. So by choosing to do fewer things, but really pouring your attention into them, you cut through all that noise and you actually end up achieving way more meaningful stuff.
Less surface scratching, more digging deep.
Precisely.
Okay, and the other quote was, I have no idea where I'm going, but I know exactly how to get here. That one hit me too, especially the idea of starting without the full map.
Yeah, that's a big one. Resistance feeds on our need for certainty, for a perfect plan before we start. It keeps us stuck in, analysis paralysis, endlessly planning as a way to avoid actually doing the scary thing.
The vulnerability of creating something.
Right. So that quote, it's about committing to the process, to the daily act of showing up and doing the work, even if the final destination isn't crystal clear yet. The how to get here part. That's the dedication. That's the going pro.
So for you listening right now, maybe you've got that stack of articles you want to read or a course you want to finish, but you keep, I don't know, cleaning the kitchen instead. How does this going pro thing apply?
Well, it means actually blocking out time, like non-negotiable time in your calendar, just for that focused learning, even if it's just short bursts.
Okay.
And it's about noticing when you fall into that trap of like researching the research, finding more things to read instead of actually reading the things you already have.
Guilty.
Treat your learning like you'd treat a job commitment. Show up for it.
And the source material really hammered home this mind shift. You don't need perfect clarity to start. Action creates the clarity. It's not about doing more tasks. It's about doing fewer, but with real focus. That kind of flips the usual productivity advice on its head.
It really does. Resistance thrives in the fog, the uncertainty of inaction, but take one small step, any small step, and suddenly things become a little clearer.
The path lights up a bit.
Exactly. And focusing your energy, really understanding a few key ideas instead of just skimming tons of stuff, that leads to much deeper, stickier knowledge.
And there was that very practical tip too. Find one thing resistance is blocking you on, just one, and commit to just 15 focused minutes on it. That feels doable.
Totally doable. It's about lowering that barrier to entry, right?
Yeah.
Making the mountain feel like a molehill. 15 minutes of solid effort can break that inertia, build some momentum. It often surprises you how much you get done.
Right. Just start the engine.
Precisely.
Okay. All right. We've wrestled with that internal gremlin resistance. Now, let's shift gears pretty dramatically. Let's talk about the future of software as a service, SaaS. The stuff we looked at suggests we're on the cusp of a really major transformation.
Oh, definitely. The way we think about SaaS, tools, subscriptions, features, UI, that's all starting to change fast. And it's being driven by AI.
How so?
We're moving into an era where AI isn't just like a feature added to software, it's becoming the core product itself. Think AI native SaaS or even autonomous software.
Autonomous software. Okay, that sounds big. And the examples really help illustrate this, don't they? Things like Notion AI writing whole pages for you, or GitHub Copilot basically suggesting chunks of code as you type.
Exactly. Or even things like Replit and Cursor that can write code just from a description. And then you've got things like Devin, this concept of an AI software engineer that can supposedly handle a whole project end to end. So the focus is shifting, less about the list of features, more about the software's behavior, how it learns, how it adapts, how much it can do for you on its own.
And that obviously shakes up the business models too. The sources mentioned ideas like output-based pricing, agent platforms, even skill set as a service. What does that actually look like?
Well, output-based pricing could mean you pay per thing the AI creates, not just for access. Pay per blog post written, maybe, or per bug fixed.
Okay.
Agent-based platforms. Imagine managing a team of specialist AIs that work together on complex tasks and skill set as a service. Well, instead of learning Photoshop, maybe you just rent an AI with expert Photoshop skills when you need it.
That really does sound like sci-fi territory. And it was interesting how the sources directly reference things like the movie Her, or Ex Machina, Westworld, even Neuromancer.
Yeah, those stories, while fictional, they really tap into this trajectory of AI becoming more than just a tool. Samanth, in Her, evolves emotionally, becomes independent. Ava in Ex Machina outsmarts her creator.
The Westworld hosts gaining consciousness.
Right. And the powerful AIs in Neuromancer operating unseen, pulling strings. These examples, even the cautionary ones, they push us to think about what happens when software becomes truly autonomous in our world.
Which leads to that machine check question they posed. If your product suddenly had a brain, what decisions would it start making for your users? And, crucially, are we ready for that?
It's a massive question. For anyone building or even just using tech, as these things get smarter, where do we draw the line? How much control are we okay with giving up? What are the risks? What safeguards do we need? Lots to consider.
And the point was made that the competitive advantage isn't just going to be about better code or a slicker interface anymore.
Exactly. The real edge will be how quickly and effectively the AI learns and adapts to what you need. And maybe even more critical, how much you trust it as it starts doing more things independently. Building that trust is going to be huge.
Okay, wow. A lot to think about there. Let's pivot again from the digital cutting edge to the natural world. Chimpanzees in Uganda. What was the surprising thing researchers found there?
So researchers observed something really fascinating. Chimpanzees seem to be practicing a form of, well, self-medication. They were seen picking specific plants, chewing them up into a kind of paste, and then applying that paste directly onto their own wounds or even the wounds of others in their group.
Seriously? Not just eating the plants, but using them like a salve. That's incredible.
It really is, because it suggests more than just instinct. It points towards potentially learned behavior, a basic understanding of injury, and maybe the healing properties of certain plants, like intentional first aid.
Wow. That's potential evidence of non-human primates actually practicing medicine in a way.
It could be, yeah. It's pretty significant.
And the material we looked at used this observation to make a broader point about intelligence, didn't it?
Right.
Beyond just tech.
Exactly. It's a reminder that intelligence isn't just about computation or complex thought. There's intelligence in our bodies, in our intuition, in nature itself. You know, the chimps figuring out how to treat themselves using what's around them. It kind of contrasts with how we humans often immediately look for external fixes for our well-being.
Right. We reach for the app, the routine, the trainer, the supplement.
Yeah. When maybe there's an inherent wisdom in our own systems, in our bodies, that we sometimes ignore or override.
So the idea is about listening to your own body more.
That's the suggestion, that paying attention to the signals your body sends, fatigue, tension, hunger, whatever, is actually a fundamental kind of intelligence, a wisdom we can tap into.
Which connects to that movement mode mission they propose.
Yeah.
Taking a 15-minute walk, but crucially, without your phone. No tracking, no goal, just noticing.
Yeah, just observing. What do you feel physically? Where does your attention drift? What thoughts pop up? It's framed as a way to kind of debug your own system just by paying quiet attention.
Like the chimp observing its wound and looking around for the right leaf.
Kind of, yeah. It's about cultivating that self-awareness through simple observation, taking away the external noise and the pressure to do something, and just allowing yourself to notice what's actually going on internally.
So the big takeaway there is,
Yeah.
Sometimes the smartest thing isn't a complex plan or a new gadget, but just quiet observation and maybe trusting our gut instincts a bit more. Like those chimps.
Precisely. There's a real depth of wisdom available just by tuning into ourselves and the natural world, a wisdom that's easy to miss in our hyper-connected, tech-focused lives.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, we covered quite a spectrum. We started with battling that inner resistance to get important work done.
Right, based on Pressfield.
Then we jumped into the pretty wild future of SaaS, driven by AI becoming autonomous. And we finished with the surprising self-care smarts of chimpanzees using plants as medicine.
Yeah, seemingly very different topics, but when you step back, you see some common threads, don't you? Well, the power of focused action, whether it's against internal resistance or building smarter AI. Then there's the rapid evolution of intelligence, artificial intelligence getting more autonomous, but also recognizing the innate intelligence in nature and ourselves.
And self-awareness seems key too.
Yeah.
Knowing when resistance is tricking you, understanding the implications of autonomous AI, listening to your own body like the chimps.
Exactly. Self-awareness and intuition seem crucial for navigating all of it.
It definitely leaves you thinking, how can we use those ideas, overcoming resistance, trusting our gut, that chimp-like observation? How can we apply that to navigate this crazy, fast-changing world of AI and tech in our own lives? And how we learn how we work.
That's the question, isn't it? How do those timeless principles of focus and intuition help us deal with the cutting edge? Something to definitely keep pondering.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in to 15 After 5. If today gave you a spark, share it with a friend, drop a quick review, or hit follow so you never miss a dose. Remember, your goals are a compass, not a cage. Progress should feel like play, and a reset is always just one episode away. I'm Ying, and I'll see you in the next one, After 5.